Title: The Line They Crossed. Chapter 1: Something Changed That Night. They say betrayal doesn't come from enemies, it comes from the people you let into your heart. I didn't believe that until last summer. We were at the lake house, the three of us. Me, my girlfriend Emily, and my best friend Nate. The same trio it had always been. The people who'd known each other since high school, grown through college, and stayed close in the messiness of adult life. I used to think we had something unbreakable. Now I know better. I remember the smell of smoke from the bonfire that night, the sound of the water lapping against the dock, the way Emily laughed, just a little too loud at Nate's joke. Not unusual, but something about it made me look twice, a flicker of something in her eyes, in his. At the time, I told myself I was imagining it. Paranoia, jealousy. But sometimes your gut knows long before your heart does. The three of us had driven up for the weekend, our usual tradition: drinks, board games, and long conversations that lasted until the stars burned out. Nate brought his camera, like always. Emily packed that huge blanket she loved, the one with the moons and stars on it. I brought nothing but the same stupid trust I'd had since I was 16. Looking back, there were signs. They just didn't blink red until it was too late. That first night, I went to bed early. I had a headache, and Emily said she'd stay up and help Nate organize photos from his camera. I remember her saying, "Don't worry, we'll keep it quiet." I said, "It's fine. Just don't drink all the whiskey." They both laughed. I woke around 3 a.m. The fire was out. The lake was still. The couch was empty. I found Emily in the kitchen, pouring water from the tap like she hadn't been up to anything. Her hair was messy. Her voice was normal. But something about her silence when I asked where Nate was stuck with me. She said, "He went outside to shoot the stars." I nodded, even though I didn't believe her. I didn't sleep after that. The next morning, Nate was back to being Nate. Joking, flipping pancakes, showing us blurry night photos. Nothing seemed wrong. But Emily was quiet, not cold, just softer, distant. Her laughs didn't reach her eyes. We all went out on the boat later. She sat between us like she always did. And when we hit that sudden wave and I grabbed her arm to steady her, she flinched. That's when the doubt began to crawl in for real. We grilled steaks that night. Nate told a story about a girl he used to date, and Emily smiled too knowingly. Too closely. I wanted to scream. Instead, I drank. Later, I walked out onto the dock alone and stared at the water, hoping it would clear my head. Hoping I was just insecure. Hoping the last decade of friendship and love meant more than what I was starting to feel in my bones. I heard them behind me, laughing, then whispering, then nothing. When I turned around, they weren't there. I didn't ask. Not that night. I just locked the bedroom door and told Emily I needed to sleep. She curled up on the edge of the bed as if space itself could lie for her. I lay awake and stared at the ceiling, wondering how many other moments I'd missed. Wondering when trust had become a costume they both wore around me. Wondering what I'd done to deserve being the only one left in the dark. But the thing about darkness is, if you stay in it long enough, your eyes adjust. I didn't need proof. I already knew. Chapter 2: Evidence in the Silence. There's a moment after betrayal when you stop hoping you're wrong and start needing to know the truth. That moment came for me the next morning, while Emily was still asleep. I got out of bed, quiet, careful. I wasn't even sure what I was looking for. Maybe nothing, maybe everything. But there was a pull in my chest, like something inside me had already seen what my eyes hadn't. Nate had left his bag in the guest room, unzipped, sloppy, like always. He was the kind of guy who forgot phone chargers and wore socks that didn't match. He wasn't careful, which is why what I found made my hands shake. There was a photo tucked into a side pocket of his camera case. Not printed, just a digital preview still on his SD card. I recognized the room. Our lake house hallway. The lighting was dim, the angle awkward, but I saw it. Emily, wearing my shirt, barefoot, smiling, walking toward the guest room. And Nate, you could just make out his reflection in the mirror behind her, the camera half lowered in his hands, his eyes locked on her like he'd won something. It could have been innocent. It could have been anything, but it wasn't. I felt my stomach tighten, a cold knot blooming in my chest. The air felt thinner. My mouth was dry, but I wasn't thirsty. I was drowning in the kind of knowing you can't unknow. I put the card back. No drama, No confrontation. Not yet. Instead, I went outside. The dock was empty. The water was too calm. I stood at the edge and watched the light change, watched the sun rise like it didn't care what people did in the dark. I heard the screen door behind me. "Hey," Nate said, stepping out like nothing had happened. "You're up early." I didn't look at him. Didn't sleep much. He yawned. "Yeah, me either. Lot on my mind." I almost laughed. Lot on his mind. "Yeah, I bet." He came to stand beside me, barefoot, coffee mug in hand. "Something feels different this trip," I nodded. "Yeah, it does." He hesitated. "You okay, man?" That was the first time I saw the flicker, guilt or fear, maybe both. I turned to him. "Do I look okay?" He blinked. "You look tired." I stared at him for a long second, wondering if I could say it, if I should. But betrayal doesn't just live in the action. It lives in how long someone lets you stand in the fire without pulling you out. So I just said, "I saw a picture." His face didn't move, but his hand tightened around the mug, just for a second. "What picture?" "You know which one." Silence. Birds sang somewhere in the trees. He didn't deny it, didn't speak, didn't flinch. That was all the confirmation I needed. Emily came out an hour later, stretching like she just had the best sleep of her life. Her eyes softened when she saw me sitting alone at the table. "Morning," she said, like she hadn't shattered something. I didn't answer. She made coffee, hummed to herself, and then without a word from me, she said, "I think we should talk." That's when my hands started shaking again. Not from anger, from heartbreak, because her voice wasn't defensive, it wasn't scared, it was gentle, like someone closing a book they never planned to finish. I nodded. "Yeah," I said, "we should." Chapter 3. The Talk That Broke Me. We sat on the porch, just the two of us. The lake glittered like it didn't know what was happening, like it didn't care that the world was about to split. Emily held her mug with both hands. Her fingers were trembling, just a little. Not enough that most people would notice, but I did. I always noticed her hands. I used to love the way they moved when she laughed, when she talked, when she painted. Now they just looked like hands that held someone else. "I don't want to lie anymore," she said first. And that was it. No denial, no nervous small talk, no fake smile, just confession. "You slept with him," I said. My voice was low, too calm for how loud the storm inside me was. She closed her eyes. "It wasn't planned, but it happened." She nodded. "Yes." I didn't say anything. I couldn't, because part of me had been screaming it for days, but hearing her say it so plainly, so softly, felt like someone had reached into my chest and turned off the light. "When?" I asked. She took a long breath. "That first night, when you went to bed." I flinched. "Was it the only time?" I asked, knowing the answer already. She looked away. "I don't know how to explain it," she whispered. It happened, and I hated myself after. But then the next day, "You did it again," I said. "Didn't you?" She nodded, barely. "Twice?" Silence. I stared at the water, wondering if I could dive in and wash the memory away. "He was your best friend," I said, more to myself than to her. "He was at our table, in our home. You helped me pick out his birthday gift 3 weeks ago." "I know," she said, her voice cracking. "I know." I turned to her. "Was it love?" She shook her head quickly. "No, it wasn't like that." "Then what was it?" She didn't answer right away. Finally, she said, "It felt like stepping out of myself, like forgetting who I was for a second." I looked at her like I didn't know her anymore. And maybe I didn't. "Did you forget me too?" I asked. Her eyes filled with tears. "No," she said. "That's the worst part. I kept thinking about you the whole time. I felt like I was watching myself from outside. That made it worse. I wanted to scream, break something, run. But all I did was sit there, frozen. How long were you going to keep it a secret?" I asked. She wiped her face. I wasn't sure. Part of me thought it would disappear if we just moved on. And the other part? The other part knew it would eat me alive. We sat there for what felt like an hour. Then I asked, "Do you love me?" Her breath caught. "Yes, I do. That hasn't changed. You say that after sleeping with Nate, after lying, after everything." "I made a mistake," she said. "I wasn't trying to destroy us." "You didn't try hard enough not to," I snapped. She shrank into herself. I stood up. "I need space," I said. "I don't know what happens after this. I don't even know who you are right now." She nodded, her face pale. "I understand." I walked away. Not toward the dock, not toward the woods. I didn't know where I was going. I just knew I had to get out of the same air as her before I said something I couldn't take back. I wandered for hours. I found myself standing by Nate's car, keys still in the ignition. I wanted to smash the windshield. I wanted to drag him out and make him look me in the eye. But instead, I just sat on the steps of the house, staring at the dirt, breathing. He came back around dusk. I stood before he could speak. I know. He froze. She told you? She didn't have to, but yeah, he looked ashamed. The first honest emotion I'd seen on his face all trip. You were my brother, I said, voice low. You were my family. I didn't mean for it to happen. You didn't stop it either. He said nothing. Get out, I said. Now. He hesitated. Man, go. He left. And as his car disappeared down the road, I finally let myself fall apart. Chapter 4, The Space Between Us. After Nate left, the silence in the lake house was unbearable. Every room felt like it was whispering. Not words, just memory. Laughter embedded in the walls, echoes of board games, of toasts and spilled drinks and secrets that used to be safe. Now everything just felt infected. Emily stayed. She didn't try to talk to me that night. Didn't knock on the door or send a text. She just gave me space. Maybe she thought that was kindness. Maybe it was guilt. Or maybe she just didn't know what to say now that everything had been said. I spent that night on the couch. I didn't sleep. I just lay there with one arm across my eyes, trying to push back every image I didn't want. Her hands in his hair, his fingers on her waist, that look in her eyes when she came back into our room like nothing had happened. I wondered if she touched me the same way, if I'd ever really known her. By morning, I couldn't sit still. I packed. She stood in the kitchen when I zipped the bag shut, her shoulders hunched like she'd been bracing for this moment all night. You're leaving? She asked. I looked at her. You expected anything else? I didn't expect anything, she said. I just hoped. Hope? I laughed bitterly. You hoped what? That I'd forget it? That I'd hold you and pretend it didn't happen? Her face twisted. No, I hoped you'd let me fix it. You can't. She took a step closer. Then let me try. I'm not your project, Emily, I snapped. You don't get to break me and then rebuild me just to feel better about yourself. She blinked. The tears came fast. You think I don't hate myself? She whispered. You think I haven't played it over and over in my head every night since? You had sex with my best friend, Emily. I know what I did. Silence. For a second, we both just stood there, breathing hard. I'm not going to beg, she said softly. But I'm not going to lie, either. What we had, it mattered. It still does. I made the worst mistake of my life, but that doesn't erase everything else. I don't know how to believe you anymore. She looked like she wanted to collapse. I miss you, she said. I miss the person I thought you were, I replied. Her lips parted like she had more to say, but no words came. I grabbed my bag and stepped past her. My hand touched the door handle and I hesitated. Did you love him? I asked without turning around. No, she said instantly. But I think I wanted to feel wanted. I nodded. Then I walked out. The drive home was long and quiet. No music, no podcasts, just the hum of tires and the sound of me replaying everything. Every weekend, every shared smile between them, every laugh I'd once believed was mine. I thought of confronting Nate again, thought of sending a text so venomous it would scar him. But what's the point? He didn't deserve another word from me. When I got home, I didn't unpack. I didn't eat. I just sat on the floor of my apartment and stared at the blank wall as if somehow I could rewrite the last week. The messages started coming in the next day from her. Can we talk? I miss you. Please don't hate me. I didn't answer. And then from Nate. I'm sorry. I'll never forgive myself. I didn't reply to that either, because forgiveness wasn't mine to give yet. I was still bleeding. And the thing about betrayal is, it changes your entire world, but the rest of the world keeps moving like nothing happened. Work went on. People smiled at me in the hallway. Friends texted about weekend plans, but I felt like I'd been cracked in half and stuffed back into a shell that no longer fit. I tried to forget, but grief doesn't come all at once. It leaks in, quietly, and it's always followed by anger. Chapter 5. What healing actually looks like. 2 months passed. I counted them at first, days, hours, the distance between the night I found out and the moment I finally stopped waking up hoping it had been a dream. But pain has a way of dulling into something quieter. Not gone, just less sharp, like touching a scar instead of a wound. I hadn't spoken to Emily or Nate, not once. Emily had stopped texting after week 3. Her last message was simple: "I understand now. I'm letting go. I hope one day you'll be okay." I didn't respond, not because I wanted her to suffer, but because there was nothing else to say. Some things don't have clean endings. Some stories just stop. I thought that was it, until I saw Nate at a cafe downtown. He was sitting alone, same beat-up camera bag at his feet, same nervous energy, like he didn't belong to the room he was in. For a second, I just watched him, from behind a column, coffee in hand. He looked older. Not in the way of years, in the way guilt settles into your posture. He hadn't seen me. I could have left. I probably should have, but I walked over anyway. When he looked up and saw me, his mouth opened like he'd forgotten how to breathe. "Hey," I said. His voice cracked. "Man, don't," I stopped him. "You don't have to say anything. I'm not here to fight." He looked down. "I don't know how to look you in the eye." "Then don't," I said. "Just listen." He nodded slowly. "You were my best friend," I said. "You were family, and for a long time, I thought that meant something to both of us." "It did," he whispered, "but you still crossed the line. Not once, twice, and that changed everything." "I know." "I'm not here for an apology," I continued. "I'm not even here for answers. I'm just tired of carrying the silence." He looked up finally. His eyes were red. "Do you hate me?" I thought for a moment. "No, not anymore." He blinked. "Hate's a fire. It burns everything, even the person holding it," I said. "I'm done letting you take up space inside me." He wiped his face. "I deserve that. You deserve the weight of your choices, same as she does, but I'm not here to punish you." I stepped back. "I just wanted to say goodbye, properly." He nodded once, then lowered his head like he was praying. I walked away, and this time, it felt final. Weeks later, I took a solo trip to the coast. No one knew where I went. Just me, a small cabin, and the sound of waves that didn't care about human mistakes. One morning, I took out an old notebook and wrote down everything. Every moment, every doubt, every scene I'd replayed too many times. When I finished, I tore out the pages, walked to the beach, and fed them to the fire pit. I didn't cry. I didn't smile. I just breathed, and for the first time in months, it felt like mine. Healing isn't cinematic. There's no big speech, no musical crescendo. It's waking up and not thinking of them first thing. It's hearing their name and not flinching. It's learning to smile at your own reflection again. Emily's gone. Nate's a stranger now, but I'm still here, and I know myself better than I ever did before. Some betrayals break you, but sometimes the breaking is what finally lets the light in.